Live.
Well, hello guys. Thanks for joining us. This is the first live stream between myself and Michael. Michael Waring, most of you know Michael from Snooker Hub and the amateur snooker group. Most of you'll know me because I'm nobody. Pro-Am Snooker UK tournament events director. We're doing these live streams once a month, guys, just to keep you updated with what we know and what's going on. It's interactive. You can join us. You can send in, hopefully, with this new platform we're using here, this new studio. Hopefully, it's working. And you can send in comments or do whatever you want to do. You know, I'm going to pass you over to Michael so he can introduce himself. Michael.
I'm Michael. Yeah, I run the Snooker Hub website, snookerhub.co.uk. Basically, it started out as a resource for amateur snooker players to be able to find tournaments. That was probably in the early days of anything like the Facebook stuff that's going on now. But I still carry it on, and there's still a lot of people that look to Snooker Hub to find events, because we find events and clubs and coaches and junior clubs and all sorts of stuff. So it's just a resource for amateur snooker players. So I try to keep my finger on the pulse, as it were, with various things, and try to get the message out there and get people playing amateur snooker. Not really that bothered about pro snooker, although I do watch it, of course, a bit here and there. It obviously overlaps through amateur snooker into pro and snooker into pro, but we're all snooker fans at the end of the day, and that's what it's all about, really.
Absolutely. So we're just here for you guys, just to let you know. I don't run very many competitions now. It's maybe about half a dozen a year at the Brighton, at the Castle Snooker and Sports Bar in Brighton, where the last Q Tour event was held there. And just touching on that, we've done some interviews with the winners, Ross Muir, Martin O'Donnell, and two-time runner-up George Pragnell. We're going to be showing you those interviews. Fortunately, the guys couldn't join us live this evening, but we did speak to them in the last 2 or 3 days, and they're going to tell you how they got on there. So that's worth taking it. We're going to have Chris Henry's going to pop on about 7:30. We might have a couple of other guests if they can find a connection and come on and speak to us. So yes, this is what we're pretty much about. We're just going to focus on, we're going to talk about snooker. We're going to talk about top amateur snooker. Well, I am, Michael will talk about the club scene maybe a bit more than I will. We're going to be doing profiles on clubs as well, north and south, all over the country. This is what it's all about. We're here to help clubs promote themselves. If you want to send them some video material, or you want to just pop on and talk about your club, you're welcome to do that. If you want to join us this evening and do that, you can also do that. You know, if you have something to say about your club, or you have some issues regarding the club scene, then we can bring you on. We can talk about that too. Okay. So I think any live stream, Michael, I think this goes out live on. This is going to go out live on my live page and the Pro-Am Snooker page, and then it gets uploaded onto YouTube, so you can watch this again. Okay, and we'll try and keep it as short as possible, because we know how much you go on a bit, Michael. You can talk. And, I just want to keep this short and sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're a better place to start than the Q Tour. It's been quite an exciting couple of months. Q Tour 1 was won by Ross Muir. Ross was a Scottish professional for on and off for a while, and we caught up with Ross actually about a week ago, or was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, just before you do that, just as an interesting, purely by coincidence, the Q Tour 1, which Ross won, was at the North East Snooker Centre, which is North Shields near Newcastle. So really like north of England. just about as far north of England as you can get, almost. Q202 was down at Brighton. I was at the first bit of Q201, whichever side you're on. You were at Q202.
That's right.
No, we were opposite ends of the country from 1 and 2. And just purely by coincidence.
Very interesting.
But that's how just about how much effort we do put in. We cover the whole country for these people, don't we?
We do. We do. And I never got bought a drink all day, Michael. I sat there all day and watched it. You know, Brendan Moore was boring the arse of me, you know, like all the other officials were. You know, and I was just sitting there and nobody offered me a glass of wine. Cheers. Anyway,
cheers.
Let's go over to Ross. Shall we find out what Ross had to say for himself?
Yeah, go on.
You know, which is like what's his name?
Angus.
Angus. Well, had to be a Scottish name, didn't it? You know, it had to be Scottish.
Yeah,
anyway,
no,
get that mutt,
he's a good boy.
Get that mutt out of the frame, okay? Like Ross, congratulations on your on the Q tour. All right, we're gonna talk about that. All right, we're gonna talk about your matches for doing that, and I think probably a little bit of breathing space for you there, Ross, because it's been up and down for you, hasn't it? And it's been a wee bit of a rough ride coming off the tour, you know.
Yeah.
But just before we get into that, there, let's talk about your professional career. All right. Tell us when you first got on the world tour.
Sorry, I never caught the end of the question there.
When did you first get on the professional tour? When did you first get on?
It was 2013. So I got through a Q school in May 2013, and as you say, there's been a few bits up and down on the tour over the years. But I was on the tour between 2013 and 2019. I think when I first got on the tour, I don't think I was quite fully ready. I didn't think I had like the scoring game or the match play game. But you know, it's a great place to learn. You know, you can't pick and choose when you get on tour and when you don't get on tour. But you know, looking back, I wasn't really at a level where I could, you know, compete and do well. You know, reach later stages of tournaments, etc. But it taught me a lot. My first couple of years on tour, you know, I did get some good wins. I beat Ding Junhui in China on my first season on the tour. And then I had some other good wins like Steve Maguire. And, you know, although I never really kicked on in my first couple of years, it taught me a lot about what is required to be a top player. And, you know, it showed me the level that you have to get to in order to be able to go deep in tournaments. And then I would say it was really my third and fourth year on tour where I started to you know, really get competitive and, you know, be able to get to the stage where, you know, I wasn't bothering who I was playing in the draw, etc. It did take me a couple of years to really develop that. I've always been someone who works very hard at my game, but you know, the sort of standard difference between the amateur game and the professional game is just humongous. So yeah, absolutely. So the first couple of years was, you know, it was really just about learning what I can and seeing what, you know, other guys on the tour do. Well, what do the good players do? What do the guys who are achieving do? And you know, learning just you know, little things. And it's like if you can learn a little thing from each player, then you know, generally you're not going to be able to copy someone and say, right, this is how Ronnie plays, play like Ronnie. But it's about learning little things from all the different players and, you know, finding what works well for you and then just combining it all and, you know, working hard on the practice table. And, you know, what I've noticed as well about just having a wide knowledge about what guys actually do. So if you're going through like a rough patch, then you know you can go to the practice table and you know tinker with little things, thinking you know, oh, I've seen so and so do this. This might work for me, and just working things like sort of that way. When you go for rough patches, it's just about finding something that makes you believe that it's improved you. So my first couple of years on tour, I learned so much about all the guys on tour. I was really studying everyone and small details, and yeah, I did get quite competitive in my third year. But I think my fourth year was really when I started to show some good signs of being a player. Where I think I got to couple of last 16s, and I think I ended just outside the 64. I remember going into the World Championships. I think I was provisionally 63rd, but after the World Championships, I ended up being, I think it was 67th. But yeah, at that stage, that's when I realised that my games came together to a level where I can be competitive. And yeah, I mean, looking back on my 6 years I had on the tour, I never really achieved as much as I believe that I could have achieved. I think there was quite a few things that I could have done better, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. So, but I learned a lot, and even to this day I still reflect upon what I learned from my early years on the tour, and also from my practice partners at that time, Marcus Campbell and Graham Dott. What they taught me, and it's invaluable. Like even now, I can recall on things from years ago. When I wasn't feeling good about my game. Maybe something that I've changed that's gave me a bit of form, and it's just the experience, and going forward. Just having close to 10 years of experience now of playing, on the tour as well as in amateur tournaments. It's a wonderful thing to have behind me, and going to tournaments, I'm certainly feeling confident to the stage of I can deal with whatever's thrown at me, because generally I've found when you go to tournaments, you most of the time it's a smooth ride, but sometimes you come across a bump that if you're an inexperienced player, it might put you off your stride a little bit. But I feel like I'm at the level now, and I've had that much experience that I can deal with these things, and yeah, it's all in good stead for me going forward.
It must have been quite valuable practicing with Dottie. He must have been. Was he a great help to you?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's always sharing his knowledge, and he a few years ago when I actually fell off the tour, he encouraged me to go and see Terry Griffiths, because at that stage I had never had any coaching before in my life, so it was just all purely what felt right to me, and um, what I thought was the right way of doing things. So I went to see Terry. I had a couple of full days with him, and I learned, wow, how bad a cue action do I actually have? I do everything not by the textbook. So yeah, like when I initially fell off the tour, of course I had some eye issues, but I still wanted to be a snooker player. So even though I wasn't playing for 6 months, initially when I went to see Terry, I still had it in my head, get back on the tour, etc., etc. But it wasn't until I really said, you've got to get things right. You've got to make sure your eye is not a concern anymore before you really go, to the stage that you're giving it everything to be a professional snooker player, because that is what it requires for you to give everything. So yeah, like initially when I dropped off the tour, I thought, oh, I'll go away. I was still believing that it wasn't having that big an impact. So yeah, it was good having the lessons from Terry, because when I did get back into it after probably about 6 months where I wasn't really playing so much, I sort of started back with almost a fresh canvas, because when you've not played for that long, it's sort of your cue action is not really there. So it gave me the opportunity to then improve my technique, because I knew my technique was causing quite a lot of inconsistencies at that time. and also then games. So sorry, 1 second. I need to get this toy from Angus. He's whining at me. He's dropped his toy under here. There we go.
Bloody
Come
dogs.
play, Angus.
No, it's all right.
Yeah. So the time away, I done a lot of reflection on what I need to do to get to the next level. If the opportunity did present to me to be able to play again, and thankfully after quite a bit of trial and error, I was able to control the migraines, and yeah, I think all that experience has really gave me a lot of like a different perspective on things, and a lot more sort of calmness about myself, knowing that I can just enjoy things. It's a big thing that I went through medically. I thought that I was never going to play again. So just having that behind me, knowing that I can just be calm and enjoy snooker. And it isn't everything. If you ask most of the guys on the tour, I think that they'll really feel like it's everything. It almost feels life and death at some points. So just going behind from what I've been through, just knowing that that it's not the be all and end all is such a big thing for keeping me calm, and also making me look forward to any upcoming events as well that I can that I'm fortunate enough to play in. Sorry, 1 second again, Angus. There we go.
Well, I know how hard working you are, because you've always kept in touch with me about the pro-ams, and if you could have played in some of them, you would have done, and I think at the time there when you were coming down to Milton Keynes, I know how hard working you are, because you were always curious about what was on and what you could play in the amateur game, Let's just touch on the Q Tour, the recent one there. We've got, obviously we've got Brighton coming up this weekend coming, which is, they're just covering the tables as we speak.
Wow.
Funny enough, I'm playing the club there.
Always great conditions in Brighton. I'm really looking forward to it. It's a fantastic club and really well run. So I'm sure it'll be a fantastic tournament, and all the tables for sure will be played tip top. I'm certain about it. Great job everyone done at the first Q Tour event, and I'm sure all the Q Tour events this year will be just as good.
So in the first Q Tour there, you had, I think you had 6 matches. Is that right? Was it 6 or 6
matches?
6?
3 on the Saturday and 3 on the Sunday.
I think you did young Michael Cullum in the first round. He's a really nice kid. Racing, really nice lad. I think he came from Brighton there time last year. Just talk us through that wee match to start with.
Yeah, well, knowing Michael, he's always someone who's going to give you a tough game. So, it's never an easy draw for anyone in the first round of a tournament. He's not someone that'll give you, a lot of chances. So you need to be right up from, the first ball and making sure that you're playing well, because he's a national champion this year in Scotland. And he's a great player. I think he got to one of the final, the Q Tour, maybe the final Q Tour event last season. So I certainly know this season he will have some great results in the Q Tour. So as you say, it was a tough way to open the weekend in Newcastle.
And you had Tyler Rees, I think, on the next match. Tyler.
Yeah, he's another very good player. He does get quite a lot of good results. So again, he's someone who you need to play well to beat. And I did play well in that match. I think the first match against Michael really sharpened me up. So going into the second and third match on the Saturday, I was really really sharp. Match play was good, and I think that's really what got me through on the Saturday. I certainly never, had a lot of good scoring or anything like that, but I played really good match play and really good percentage snooker on the Saturday, and also on the final game on the Saturday against Leo. It was pretty much the same, bar one frame where I think I made 137. It was like another match play style game where yeah, there's quite a lot of like tactics involved, and yeah, it's great knowing that you can come through in a day where things are not all free flowing and scored. I do like a proper match play game, and yeah, Saturday I had three games of that fashion, so yeah, it was great, great warm up for the Sunday.
Best of five's okay. Best of five's all right to start with. Or would you?
I suppose it depends how your start is. If you win the first frame, then the first frame's huge in a best of five. I think best of seven, there's obviously you still want to win the first frame, but there's a bit more breathing space. Best of five is a bit tight. Maybe the first rounds being a best of seven is something they could look at, because with it being it's the second tier pro tour effectively, I think best of sevens would work well. I mean some of the games can last a long time. I think that's probably why they've shortened some of the matches. But yeah, I'd certainly prefer best of seven minimum, the same as Q School.
And then obviously you had a pretty convincing win over Jamie Curtis. That was the what was that? Was it the last? Was that the quarterfinals?
It was the quarters. Yeah, I can remember just a bit the same of the games on the Saturday. It was very match play like. The scoring wasn't free flowing at that stage, so I wasn't really playing many risky shots. It was just solid match play percentage snooker. And then I think the semi-final and the final was where everything came together. The scoring, the great safety, the good tactics as well. So it was almost like a save my best snooker for the semi-finals and the final. The earlier games, yeah, the earlier games were still good, but that's something I've been trying to work on, just getting a bit more scoring and a bit more free flow and break building into my game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good win over Rory. Actually, pretty convincing win 4-1. And so, just talk us through the final with George. George did quite well to get to the final there. It's nice to see George. I've seen George at his best. At times in the pro-ams, George is supported by pro-ams over the last 5-6 years. He's played a lot of them. I've seen George at his best, and he's played some fantastic snooker. Just talk us through that one. 5-2.
Yeah, like you say, he's a great player and a great guy. I think the last pro-am that I actually played in, one of your pro-ams in Brighton, he beat me in the semi-final. So yeah, I knew he was a great player. I can remember playing him years ago in a junior tournament in Gloucester as well. So we had quite a long history of games. I think we maybe met 3 or 4 times over the years. So I knew it was going to be a tough match. He's, as you say, great player when he's free flowing, fantastic scoring, fantastic potting, and he's a very, very dangerous player. The fact he's got to the final of the Q Tour event shows how good a player he is, because the field this year is so strong. And yeah, hopefully he can push forward and get to more finals, and he deserves it. I can see he puts a lot of effort into his game, so best of luck to him.
I mean, he was unlucky. George was very unlucky. Was it 2 or 3 seasons ago? He reached the playoffs on the Q Tour for the tour card. He was a bit unlucky. I thought he had it in him. Then I think he could have had it. I think he was disappointed with that, but he's certainly good enough to take that far. So anyway, look, Ross, fantastic performance there. I'll be looking forward to seeing you in Brighton. I'll be up there. You can buy me a glass of wine, okay? And it's good. Oh, I don't know, Michael. That went on a wee bit. I'm sorry about that, guys. Listen, I'm going to improve on this, okay? I want to keep these interviews down to about 6 or 7 minutes. I'm going to do my very, very best, okay? And so should you too, Michael. I know you can go on a bit, all right? But what do you think of that?
Yeah, Ross has had his struggles, obviously, and it's good to see him coming back. And he's obviously a capable player. and he's got every chance of getting back on. And it's just so difficult. Like I said, that field at the Q Tour now, each time, it's going to be really tough. So anybody who wins it, and George to get to 2 finals, that's kind of immense, isn't it? Really. I know we're going to say about the English Amateur Tour as well after, but these guys, it really is like Ross said, it's the second tier, and maybe there is a good argument for making a smaller pro tour and a bigger second tier, if you like, and give these guys who are obviously good enough. Maybe there is way more than 128 good enough, but these guys, some of these like George and Ross and people like that, they're good enough. They're good enough.
Well, I'm not sure there should be 128 professional snooker players, Michael. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, there's lots of arguments there and thereabouts, but Ross has had a good win today. Is it today? Was it today that
Ross? Yes, Ross. I'll just to let you know, guys, that Ross actually won his second round British Open match. He beat Shen Zaifan 4-3, and he was 3-0 down. He was 3-0 down, Michael, and he beat Shen Zaifan 4-3. And was that the first round or the second round of the British Open? What was that? Was it the first or second?
It depends who you ask. It's actually really, without any doubt, round 2.
Look, we were talking about George. Should we have a little listen to what George had to say a couple of days ago?
Yeah.
This was literally just after he won the amateur event 1. Okay, let's have a listen to George. I'll tell you this, if I was your sponsor or your coach at the minute, I'd be very proud to have you on my team. Do you know why? Because Q Tour 1 runner-up, Q Tour 2 runner-up, and you've just won the first English Amateur Tour event 1. It's very impressive, George. Pretty good.
Thank you, yeah.
I mean, I suppose you could say you're probably a wee bit disappointed you didn't win one of the 2 Q Tour events, but
yeah, I am. I am. It's not nice. It's not nice to lose 2 on the trot, but to get to 2. I mean, I would have snapped your hand off at the start. If someone told me you get to the first 2 finals of the Q Tour events, I would have took it, obviously. But sick to losing 2 finals, yeah.
The great thing is, how do we chat with you before you played? The second event at the Q Tour event, and you were telling me, you got new sponsors, and you were obviously feeling good. You were scoring heavy. You scored heavy. You scored heavy all day, actually. I think it's a very long day, George. I talked to Ross about this, and Martin also. You'll see the Martin interview probably tomorrow, Wednesday night. But the lads were tired. It's a very long day.
Yeah, I mean, the first Q Tour event, I played Ross in the final. I was fine up until the interval, and then after that at 2-2, I just completely faded away. And I'm looking at Ross on the table. He looks like he can go for another 24 hours playing like that. I'm thinking, what's this guy made of? But same with Martin as well. He was the same, but I felt a little bit better against Martin. I weren't as tired, but they just literally both outplayed me. As simple as that.
Martin scored very heavy that day, and both Ross and Martin have been tour players for quite a bit of time. Something you haven't had experience of yet. I know you were close to it there a few seasons ago. You got the playoffs, I think. And I thought to myself, we were kind of shaking our heads then, George, trying to work out why you're not on the tour, because we knew you were good enough. And I think maybe a bit of bad luck, bad run, maybe just bad timing. Maybe you weren't ready.
I mean, I know I've got the ability. I know I'm good enough. It's just, I mean, a lot of amateurs will tell you, or a lot of players will tell you, I'm probably like the most inconsistent amateur I've been for the last few years. I'm either get running deep in the tournament or winning it, and then I'll go on a run where I'm losing first rounds, And for some reason, I think I know the reason. For some reason, I'm being a bit more consistent now. just a little technical change in my game, which Barry Pinch has spotted, and that's just given me something to focus on in practice. So it's given me so when I'm practicing, it's given me a purpose to practice. So I'll just focus on that, and obviously it's working, and hopefully I can keep it up.
How important are these wee things, George? I mean, like the tiny wee things that maybe a coach would pick up, or perhaps maybe Barry has picked on. How important are these wee things when you take them on board?
Well, they can be very important, because as a player, you don't really notice it, because you're playing, you're not watching, you're playing yourself, so you don't notice anything. You don't notice anything, so it don't even have to be like a good player to notice it. It can just be someone down the club, they're watching you, and they spot something and they tell you, and you think, oh yeah, you're right. They ain't got to be like a top player to notice. But I was struggling. I was in a rut for a bit of a while. I was in bits, and I literally just went to Barry. I said, Barry, can you just have a look at me? And he spotted that straight away. And ever since then, I've been working on it. And I believe it's helped, especially under pressure as well.
I mean, I remember you supported my pro-ams in the beginning there a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago. On the start, you played, you and Barry and Luke came down and played I've seen you at your best. I've seen you nearly hit 100 break in every frame when you were playing very well. I remember that match against the JPs. Do you remember that match you played? Oh God, what was the name of the Welsh kid? He's on the tour now. Dylan Emery. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, Dylan. Yeah.
I mean, that was unbelievable. I think it was 4-3.
It was 4-3, and literally, it was. Yeah, I remember. It was whoever got in first won the frame. That was a crazy game.
Jesus, I mean, it was nearly 100 break every frame, and I mean, the periods were just. I mean, the match was over in about an hour and a half. I think an hour and 20 minutes, and there was like 7 frames. It was,
it might have been an hour. I think it might have been less than an hour.
It was absolutely incredible. So, I mean, you see that, you get days like that where you perform very well. I think you had a good weekend there, actually. But, you can see the signs from him too. I mean, he's pretty much the same sort of mold then. He's a fast player, that kid. And, like yourself, he's got himself where he wants to be now. He's got it all to do, So look, George, let's see where you are now then. So it's a combination of maybe picking up on a few things that's taking you where you are now. So where do you see yourself now? How are you feeling about everything with sponsorship and with practice and all the rest of it?
Well, I think I'm really happy at the minute, because I'm in the club. Obviously playing Barry's club. He's bought into a business like the last year, and I think just being settled in a club has helped, because before I was playing there, I was playing at like 3 different places, and I weren't really settled. But now I'm in a settled environment with brilliant facilities, supported by the club as well, and I'm just happy playing now. So that's helped a lot. And obviously, recently got a sponsor for the Q Tour, All Star System Heating and Plumbing, support me for the Q Tour, which is taking a lot of pressure off financially, which is massive. Because I'm going to before you go into tournaments thinking I have to run deep or even win it to enter the next tournament, which isn't good at all. You're not going to perform plan doing that. So being supported like that way takes massive pressure off me, and I think that's why I'm performing pretty well and I'm playing well, because there's no worries now going to tournaments. I can just go and enjoy and play.
And the formats of these Q Tour events, George, best of 5. Jesus, cutthroat. I mean,
yeah, they're brutal. They're brutal, very brutal. But
one frame down and you're already doubting your life expectancy.
I know. You can't afford to lose. You literally can't afford to lose the first frame. It is brutal. It is very brutal. But if you get, I think the quarters, they play best of 7 from the quarters and then best of 9 in the final. But I still believe over a tour like that, even though they are best of 5s in the early rounds, I still believe that the better players will come through that. I do. Some might disagree because they're best of 5s, but I do believe the better players will come through on that tour.
Fantastic. George, this will be shown obviously Wednesday evening, the card. But look, listen, kid, well done. I've always supported you. I kind of wish I could afford to take you on sponsorship wise.
Yeah.
Would have been a good thing to go on there,
I got to thank you as well, Dave, because when there was literally no tournaments for us amateurs to play, and you was running all the big pro-ams, everyone was playing in them, and I just wish they were still going, you know. But
Well, they are. There's one coming up in October. I think you're too busy, but I think we've got.
yeah, you have them in Brighton now, don't you? They're all in Brighton.
We got this one here. Can you see that on the screen there, George?
Oh yeah, I see that.
One coming up on Sunday the 23rd, but I think you said you were busy. You know.
Yeah, I must. Yeah, I'll have a
I
look.
think you better said have a little look at that there, but I always keep a couple of spaces there just in case old Baz can come. There we are now. Let's cut George off while the going's good. You know, listen, Michael, before you have a go at me again about the video time, I've cut that way down. Way down. That video there was only about, what, 7-8 minutes? I can't hear you now. You've muted yourself. Have you muted yourself? Oh, I don't know what he's done. Anyway, let's bring Chris Henry in. Wait, Chris, can you hear us?
Mr. Lewis, can you hear me?
I can hear you. This is very dark. Michael, can you hear us? Yeah, we can't hear you. What have you done to your microphone? I know you're getting old, but I showed you how to work it. All right, I showed you how to work it. Hang on, let me have a little look here. See what we can do. No, it's definitely your end, Michael. I'm not responsible. Anyway, Chris, how's it going?
Very good, thank you. How are you, Dave?
I'm all right. It's good to have you on. I wanted to bring you on here just to get a little bit of an update on what's going on with Chris Henry Sports, what you've been up to, and want to get your opinion on a couple of things actually very shortly. So talk us, what's been going on?
Well, lots of things. Lots of coaching in snooker, lots of coaching in professional golf, launching some new products, just about to launch a new sport into the market, and especially into the US and China, where a lot of people that don't get the chance to play snooker because there's no snooker tables available. We're now going to launch this new sport, which is, as you've probably seen it, Six Reds.
The Six Reds, yes. Yeah.
It's a new sport. It's a new game. It's led by Aramith.
Okay.
It's all these, lovely, colourful balls. So it's basically snooker pool-sized balls on an American pool table. So we're gonna allow this game to get into the US, and it just gives a lot more people the chance to play snooker. But we're gonna have some funky little rules. We're gonna have ball in hand after fouls. Every foul is 6 points. They're not called frames. They're not called racks. They're called fracks. You can play jump shots. There's no push strokes. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fast. And it's going to give everybody a real big chance to do well at this game, because I think on an American pool table, it's more a chance for people to compete. So, yeah, we're looking forward to launching this. And we've also launched these little babies as well, which is these plastic balls, the balls for American pool.
Right.
The other ones, of course, for snooker.
Yes, we had them, yeah.
And a lot of players are now using these products, and they're finding them very, very useful and very helpful. So
how do the guys get hold of these balls? Can they just go into Chris Henry Sports?
Yeah,
Chris.
ChrisHenrySports.com or sixreds.com. You can go either site and get hold of those. And they also come with all the online video lessons of exactly how to use them. And in a recent social media message I posted recently, what's fascinating with snooker and pool and billiard sports is that many players are doing things that they're not aware of. They're not consciously aware that they may be striking the ball in a place they're not actually seeing, or they may even be aiming the cue ball to the object ball in a slightly different place than they believe they are. And so
I do that all the time, Chris. I do that all the time.
And Dave, it's not just you. I'm talking about some of the top 16 professional players get to a point where they're doing things incorrectly. So if they are capable of doing that, then we all are.
Well, I want to know why it is, Chris, that by the time I've drank my first bottle of wine, I'm nearly hitting 100 breaks. It turns itself around completely in a very, very short space of time, you know. Anyway, that's a matter for another discussion, you know. Michael?
Yeah.
By the way, your guest has got his audio working there. Brilliant.
You can hear me now, can you? Well,
We can hear you. We can hear you.
can you hear me, mother? Yeah, hiya, Chris. I mean, we have spoke once or twice before and stuff like that, but I've been using the balls for quite some time, and I firmly believe in them. It's a lot of innuendos here. Can you, like, I get my balls out every now and again. It's just like give me balls a good whack around the table and all that kind of caper. But I love the balls. I'm not actually going to mention anything about your 6 Reds yet, because you'll have to send me a set and let me have a try. but I mean, yeah, fair play. I think there is a lot of stuff going on with snooker where I'm just saying today before, I think people getting bored with snooker, that they're coming up with all these other things, and there's maybe some other reason why, you know, people are not playing. Do they not want to play or whatever? But it's difficult, isn't it? But like you said,
I think one of the things I've found is that, you know, I work in a club in Bruges in Belgium, and the number of times people coming into the club and they'll try to play snooker on a 12-foot by 6-foot snooker table, and literally, you know, they can't play. Basically, they just can't.
I know that feeling.
Don't we all? I mean, you know, when you get top professional players struggling to play the game at times, you realise that how high skill snooker actually is on a 12-foot table. It's a high skill game. So they end up playing pool, and I just see this as an opportunity to promote snooker, actually, to promote the game of snooker worldwide, because there's American pool tables everywhere. There's over 25 million tables in the US, and most of these people don't have access to play snooker. But what I'm finding now is we're selling a lot of the balls to the US market, because they're now watching snooker on digital television, and they're getting more and more interested in snooker. So this is potentially a way to allow them to sort of get into learning about pot the red, pot the colour, put the colour back on the table, pot the red, pot the colour, put the colour back on, etc., and educating them about this fantastic game of snooker, this gentleman's sport from the UK. Why not? Why not get it out there?
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for getting the game out there. There's loads of opportunities, and there's something needs to happen, because for some reason kids aren't playing, and I don't believe it's the Xbox thing. I just think, you know, that's just an excuse. That there's too many other. There are a lot of distractions. Obviously, people can do things that you couldn't do. Maybe I put it. One theory, if you like, is the babysitter theory, where nowadays parents are happy for their kids to go in the bedroom, be babysat by their Xbox or PlayStation or whatever. They know where they are. They know what they're doing. In a lot of people, like, well, I'm a bit older than you two, but our generation, if you like, were babysat by our dads and granddads taking us to the club, sitting us in a corner with a bottle of lemonade and a packet of crisps, and then we're sat there watching these games of snooker and thinking, can I have a go? Yeah, and it's the babysitting thing, and you know, the dads wanted to go out to have a beer and have a game of snooker, of course, and they were lumbered with the kids, so they had to take them. And
you know, that's what happened to me when I was 9-10 years of age. My dad took me down to the local snooker club, the Elite, in Accrington, where Alex Higgins and Dennis Taylor and these guys used to practice. You could hardly see the tables because of the smoke, the cigarette smoke. It was that thick.
Yeah.
You sit there and watch these guys play, and eventually, at some point, you might be able to play a few shots yourself. But yeah, you're right. I think it's a different culture now. It's a different way of going about things.
Do you think, Chris, do you think we need to get away from? I mean, we know how difficult snooker is in relation to pool, but I mean, people used to say. I mean, some of the top players I know who are top pool players actually have always said to me that you know, good pool players are bad snooker players, or you know, great pool players are players who have failed on the snooker scene. If you look at that, that's actually quite often the case. But you don't think we're getting away from it a little bit, maybe in terms of, or do you think we need to have these new things like you've produced?
I just think I think when we talk about the level of skill of snooker and pool, I think obviously pool's a smaller table. In American pool, it's a smaller table. It has bigger pockets. Of course, the strategy and the shot selection is very important at pool, and there's probably a little bit more pressure at pool because if you make a mistake at pool, you could be sitting down for a long time, and that's one of the things I don't really like about the sort of the winner of the rack breaks off the next rack. Well, that's something we're not going to do in six reds pool snooker. It'll be alternate break-offs because I like the fact that snooker has alternate things like that. I think there's some great rules in pool that we can bring in, and some great rules in snooker, and we can make it a lot quicker. But I just think it's just letting people have fun, letting people enjoy it, and letting them get some kind of success with it. You know, we can get the balls in the pocket and we can play the damn game. It just takes a lot longer to learn how to play snooker on a 12-foot table. And I think what happens is by the time, you know, not for everybody, but a lot of people don't continue to play because it takes so long to learn how to get some level of proficiency to actually enjoy the game. And I think on a smaller format, that process can be speeded up.
So I love the video we did on habitual cue ball striking and continuity and consistency. We talked about those things. We talked about the different processes in which a player can build himself up and produce those results. You know, that was pretty much the same for any cue sport, you know. But can you tell us, Chris, who you're working with on the current UK tour at the moment, or is that privy?
Well, there's a number of players. Well, I'll tell you who some of the players I'm not working with that I was working with. That might be interesting for you. So I'm not now working with Mark Selby. I'm not working with Sean Murphy. I'm not working with Graham Dott. I am working with players like Ryan Day, Jamie Jones, Michael White, Liam Highfield, and some of the players outside of the 32 and 64, etc. Back working with James Cahill, Matt Seltz, Mark King, Ali Carter's back on board as well. About 11 players on the main tour. I'm doing some work with Florian Nussler in Austria. He's an amateur player. That's
nice kid.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
Loads of ability, Chris. Loads of ability.
Yeah, you know, he's very dedicated. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of ability, and I think he has a bright future. And it's just great to see these players coming through from different countries because that's what snooker needs. It needs to grow out there and get good players in Germany, Holland, Belgium, and obviously Belgium's producing some good players now. Brilliant thing that happened recently, in my opinion, with the mixed doubles. The ladies performed, I thought, really, really well. They did themselves proud, and that attracts a lot of interest from potentially young girls who want to look at sport and look at snooker as something for them to get involved with. And as we said a number of months ago, Dave, wouldn't it be great if there was some kind of minimum guarantee for players that maybe if they lose their first round, they're going to get some kind of fee, a performance fee, to support them? Because as George was just saying, you know, in the previous conversation, there's so much pressure on these players to perform. And you know, professional football, they don't go out onto the pitch worrying if they can pay their bills next week. you know, so they can go out there free of that fear of the financial stress.
Well, we've got the 20K now, which is guaranteed. We're going to touch on that. But Michael, did you have a question there just earlier?
Well, there was a quick question. How do you pronounce Florian's surname? Nuessler or Nessler? Or how do you pronounce
Florian? Oh, sorry, Florian Nussler.
Nuessler.
Yeah.
It's a German S, isn't it? It's like a double S, basically.
I think some of the lads are calling him Flo. Is that short? Is that a short?
Yeah, Flo. He calls himself Flo sometimes for Florian. Florian Nussler. And yeah, like you said, Dave, he's a really nice lad and a lot of potential. He can do really well.
He's always out there, isn't he? He's active on social media, and you know that he wants to do it, and that's he's up there, isn't it? He does actually want to do it.
Well, it's interesting. Over the years, we've always said you tend to get out of something what you put into it, and it's about working hard. And what I've tried to do in these last 10, 15 years is understand more about the brain and why is it that when you do work hard and you do a lot of very good repetition, why does it seem to get a little bit easier at that point? It actually starts to get a little bit easier where you don't quite have to think as much about what you need to do. And there's some things now that we understand in the brain. I'm not going to go, don't worry, I'm not going to go too deep into the neuroscience, but there's a sheath called a myelin sheath on the neurons in your brain. And when you repeat something over and over, the insulation of the messaging from your brain to your body gets stronger. And so the messages get through to your body quicker. And that's when a player can really get into the zone where the conscious brain doesn't really need to do too much work. It's more habit.
Yeah.
It's just happening.
I think it's an awareness process with players. Players reach different levels in the game, especially in the professional game. I mean, I think there's too many professionals on the tour, but I mean, quite often players climb the ladder very, very slowly, and they quite often develop their games at very late stages, sometimes very, very peculiar stages where they just find something. And I think, getting back to the rewiring process, I think they comprehend it maybe at that stage and then develop their game, because it is very, very clearly up here. It's very, very clearly driven by the thought process and the rewiring stages. And I think it's
similar to when you learn to drive a car. When you learn to drive a car, you've got to consciously think about what you have to do. Move the gears, push the clutch, push the gas, indicator on, look at the mirror. And all these conscious things have to be thought about. And that's why driving is very difficult in the beginning. But as it becomes more and more habitual, because you're wiring your brain to do it automatically without you now having to think about it too much.
Tell you what, mate. I'll tell you what, Michael.
When you say a certain speed, isn't it ironic that the current reigning world champion and world number one is the fastest player on the tour? There's a little bit of a secret right there. There's a clue, isn't there?
Tell you what, try taking your driving test again, guys. I wonder how many of you are going to pass the current driving test. Doesn't matter how long you've been driving. I guarantee you, about one or two of you out of 10 will pass it. The rest of you will fail it. But anyway, before we get into an in-depth conversation about the psychological state of the game, we're back to. I mean, if any of these young guys happen to get themselves on the tour, like guys, Chris, Michael, they're guaranteed 20K to cover their expenses. That's got to be a great move.
It's got to be, because Chris, you probably know better being there in Europe, but it's always been an argument of mine that the World Snooker Tour is too UK centric. Now they have all the so-called qualifying rounds in England. Even the Scottish Open qualifying rounds are in England for a game that's in Scotland. So the Scottish lads have to come down. For the Chinese, some of the Chinese events, they hold some of them over to the main arena for them and all that kind of stuff. But now that they've got the 20K or 40K, if you're looking at it over the 2 years that you get your card for, they've got that guaranteed. All right, they have to, they don't win anything until they've won more than 20,000. But they can't have that excuse anymore that they need to play all these matches in England so that they don't have the travelling expenses. They've got basically how many events are there? So there's 20 events. I don't know how many there is. There's probably a bit less than that. But so there's so you got like £1,000 per event each year now. So you've got £1,000 you can spend on each event. So you can go to Germany, Austria, Poland, Latvia, and all these places. That's where they can develop, because all these kids, they don't want to be the European lads. So you get the odd ones like Florian, who there's the few that will put that effort in, knowing that they're going to go to England and they'll go and live in England and they don't mind. But that's got to be a small percentage of the snooker, the potential of the snooker players out there over in Europe. And if they played some of the qualifying ones, like they play the German Masters in Germany, if they played the qualifiers over there, surely there'd be more people go watching. If they played all the first rounds and all that, there'd be much more people in the Q School, all those kind of things. If they had it properly as a world tour, and they've no excuse anymore because they don't need the travelling expenses. Do you not think, Chris, that there'd be a lot more the Europeans would play if there was a lot more snooker played in Europe?
I think, yeah, absolutely there would. I mean, obviously, it's in the UK because that's the home of the game. That's where it is. And hopefully going forward in time, more and more events can be staged outside of the UK, making it a little bit more fair. But, most of the best players in the world are on that little island in the middle of the sea, just to the west of Europe. That's just a fact of the thing. So it's up to these guys in different countries now to start performing. But this initiative by World Snooker, I think it's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, in recent times, the USPGA, the Golf Association of America, I think became under a little bit of pressure with this new Live Tour headed by Greg Norman and supported by the Saudis, who are, investing absolutely fortunes into professional golf. And the USPGA have now announced that every single player on their tour from 2022 to 2023 now will receive a salary of $500,000 each, which is very nice. And if you miss the cut, you're now going to get an expense fee of $5,000 US. So the argument now that comparing snooker to golf, if you don't make the cut or if you can't win a match, you shouldn't earn money. I've never agreed with that, because for me, snooker, like other sports, is an entertainment industry. And a young lad who drives up from Brighton to Wigan to play a match on a live snooker table, who makes a couple of century breaks, entertains the audience, loses 4-2, he needs to be paid. He needs to get a fee for that to cover his expenses. Yeah. Absolutely right. So it's brilliant what World Snooker have done. Whether it stays in this same format now going forward, I don't know. In my opinion, it should really be more like, if you lose your first match, you get your fee. There is the argument, of course, and nothing's ever perfect, but the guy that does not win a match and earns 20 grand is not going to incur the same amount of costs as the guy who earns 20 grand, who's had to travel to different venues and hotels and petrol and flights. So there's that aspect you can think about as well. They've both earned 20 grand, but one's had a lot more costs because he's been more successful. So that doesn't quite stack up really either. So there's one or two things that could be fine-tuned maybe. But I just think now, young people, young lads, young girls, looking at snooker as a potential for the future, you can now start to see now, right now, everybody's going to earn £1,660 a month minimum to play snooker, which is like, it's a decent salary. It's not a bad salary, with the opportunity to earn a lot more. And now, like you've just said, the costs are now going to be covered. If you want to travel from Belgium or from Austria or Germany, those costs are now covered, and it gives more and more people the opportunity to get into this brilliant game of snooker.
Well, I think World Snooker have fixed a big problem with the 20K introduction. So for me, they've fixed a massive problem. And it's going to relieve. I mean, I've spoken to many really good amateur players who have played in my tournaments who have since made the tour in the last 5-6 years, and they totally agree with that. And they've always told me that they couldn't cover their expenses to get down to the venues. They couldn't get sponsors. Now they can, they can take a little bit of a weight off their shoulders now in that respect.
I mean, other sports, Dave, other sports people like football and golf and tennis must look at snooker players and think, "My, you guys must absolutely love that game." I mean, you're not getting much for it, but you're so passionate about what you do, and coming onto the tours is a bit of a risk before, because if you don't perform, it's going to cost you a lot of money, basically. So I agree with you that now, that issue of covering those costs and getting this £20,000 into every player's pockets, that the ones that actually opt into it. A lot of players are not going to need that 20 grand. We know that, but some do, and for the ones that do, wonderful. I think it's a great initiative.
Right, Chris, we're going to get rid of you in a second. You know why? Because I'm trying to keep these streams down to about an hour. And Michael keeps interrupting me all the time. We've got to listen to Martin O'Donnell's interview in a second, guys. We're going to be talking to Justin, who's on the road with Hotwire. We're going to find out where he is. We're going to find out where he is every month, because he's always on the road. Chris, can we drag you back in next month?
Listen,
for maybe 10 minutes instead of 35?
You know me, Dave. It's been great. It's been great to be on.
Chris, thanks very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
I'll catch you again
Cheers,
soon.
Chris.
Take it easy. Okay, buddy. There you are, guys. What about that? It's always nice to have Chris. Chris will pop in probably most streams if he's free and what have you. Listen, we're gonna probably finish off with a Martin O'Donnell interview, but I want to try and bring in Justin. Some of you
hot-footing it around the country with Hotwire.
I don't know this. Let me tell you something about this man. He runs Hotwire, Justin Greatrix, and we had him on. We've had him on a couple of live streams in the past. Do you know what I mean? He's to be honest with you, Michael, he's really got on my nerves. Oh, there he is. Oh, Justin. Justin, you'll never guess what I'm drinking.
Oh, lovely. I wish I was drinking that at the moment.
You know what? Listen, he introduced me to this wine, Michael, about, 3 or 4 years ago. He's on the coffee at the minute because he's recovering from his drink problem with the wine, especially, but
it's not far from the truth, actually.
Justin, tell us what you've been up to.
Well, it's all going on in the background at the moment. I had a little issue with my car 2 weeks ago. I went down to Plymouth to do a table for Hayden Pinney, and then on my way back, the cam pulley went, and I've been without a car ever since.
Oh,
so
that's going to mash up the engine, mate.
That's going to. Well, I'm hoping it's not. I'm still waiting to hear back from the garage, but I basically had to get my car repatriated, which took about 48 hours. And well, I'm hoping to get my car back soon because I've got a load of Celotex building up here for the next systems.
Let me tell you something, mate. See if that belt has bent all those valves on that car. You're going to have to do a lot more than hot wiring to fix that one.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, I put 70,000 miles on it in 2 years, that car. And, well, I was looking at replacements, but replacements are stupid money at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Where's your pending work next?
Well, I'm actually planning a trip to Ireland in the next couple of weeks when I get back off my holiday. Okay. So I got a couple of tables up in the north. I got 2 tables in Stratford-on-Avon.
Okay.
For Andrew Norman.
Is that the Stratford Sports Club?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, right. They're hot wiring the tables. We ran competitions there for 6 months.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got those fantastic club. Absolutely.
Nice. So I've had very nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
club.
I'm looking forward to seeing that club because that's one of the clubs that I haven't been yet. So
there's a lot, mate. You'll spend all day if you're into it. Go down to the pet store and get some feed and feed the ducks and the swans because I think they'll like you. You know.
Well.
So people, Justin, if people need to get a hold of you, how do they get if they want to get a heating system on their table? Can you tell us be a little bit brief about this? Tell us a little bit about how they go about it and give us a rough idea of what the cost is.
Well, in the last couple of years, I mean, I've done, well, obviously, as you know, I've done loads on Facebook, and I'm just about to launch a new website, which I launched a new logo on Sunday. Just gone. That's the one. Thank you, Michael. And yeah, the new website's going to be hotwiresnookerheaters.com.
Oh, that's got a bit of a catch to it. I like that.
Yeah, it's not a bad little catch, is it?
Are you taking Are you still on your own, traveling all over the place, Justin? Is it worth you taking? Do you have anybody? Have you taken any guys on to fit the system?
No. I'm just a one-man band. I mean, I've been doing it for close to like 15 years on and off now, and it's always been enough to keep me going.
Okay.
So it's one of them things. If you went on the Dragon's Den with it, that's exactly what they say. It's a nice little business for you, but it's not one that we can invest in.
It's not going to make a fortune.
No, but I mean, I love it. I mean, I get to visit all the best clubs in the UK, all the best academies. I've done tables for 80% of the professionals. Most of the Q Tour players have got my system, so it beats what I was doing as a full-time job day job before. So, no, living the dream.
You did a table for a friend of mine up in Carlisle. I put him onto you and Richard.
Carlisle.
Yeah, Richard Troughton. Trog.
Yeah. God, you want to see his snooker room? He's got like the biggest snooker room I've ever seen.
Yeah, I watched them. Well, I watched all the progress because they're friends of mine and they built the thing. And so I've not actually been yet. They call it the shed, don't they? The snooker shed. And
it's absolutely mental. It's about 50 square meters. The footprint of it is. I haven't been in a bigger snooker room.
Yeah, it's got room for a pool table probably at the end of it. I know that.
Yeah, I think he definitely had. He's got a nice like little living area at the end of it as well.
Yeah.
I get to see some stunning places.
Yeah,
and that was one of them. Your most impressive clubs in the last year or so. Most impressive clubs.
Right, well, Northeast is up there. Landywood. Anyone that's playing in the Q Tour can look forward to going there. That's a stunning club, that is. Landywood in Cannock.
Yep.
And then you got JP's, another stunning club. I've just been there to do the system on their new star.
Yeah.
Then there's like your.
I think this one here. This is the Northeast club. This one here. I've just got some images off. That's the entrance.
That's it.
That's the Northeast club there. It looks very impressive, actually, doesn't it, boys?
It's a gorgeous club. Paul's done a great job on that.
Yeah. He went through a lot of heartache to get that place going. So he's done great, yeah.
But no, it just goes to show what these people can do. I mean, if it's done right. I mean, I go to a lot of clubs. Well, I mainly go to the clubs that are bouncing because I don't think the dead clubs would give me a bell, to be honest. But no, another good example is Dave Gilbert's club in Swaddling Coat. He's done an absolute cracking job with that. So
what do you call it? Potters, is it? Yeah.
Potters, that's it. Yeah. So you got your established clubs. I mean, it's like you like Frames in Coulsdon. I mean, another great club.
Big club.
So, I mean, I'm pretty lucky. I get to see most of them. But the new ones, especially ones like Dave Gilbert, where he's taken over old clubs and brought them back to life. and Landywood and Cannock. I mean, there's someone else there. It's just people showing that it can be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to try and get Dave to come on the live stream actually and talk about that. I've got a contact number for Dave, but I'm not sure it's the right one. We'll have to put our heads together on that one, Michael. See if we can get hold of Dave Gilbert and.
I can do that. I can do that for you.
Yeah, I can ask him if I can pass you his number. So.
No, do that, please. Can you, if you can send that number over to me, please, Justin? That'll be great.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, Justin, listen. You're already getting on my nerves, so I'm going to have to get rid of you. All right, just like Henry. Henry gives me a headache after half an hour. You don't take so long. But we're going to get you back on. Listen, we're going to get you back on next month, all right? And you.
All right, I look forward to it, Dave.
And I promise you, Justin. I promise you, Justin. If you want to promote your new website or anything like that, I'll do you. Do as an editorial or something, a press release, and I'll put it onto Snooker Hub for you and share all that out.
Oh, brilliant! No, that's thank you very much. That's so much appreciated.
No worries. Yeah, we'll do that. Might as well.
That's absolutely fine, Justin. Just send a check to Dave Lewis, Pro-Am Snooker, £100, and be all right. Be all right. Be all right.
Everyone thinks I'm minted.
Justin, I'm going to catch up with you next month, okay? I want to get some photographs of where you're working, okay?
All right, brilliant, mate.
That's what we're going to do. I love these people who are on the road, Michael. I don't know, but I just love it when guys like Justin are on the road, and they're. It's just you get the feel of what's going on all the time, don't you?
Yeah. Hot foot with hot wire.
Absolutely amazing. Okay, shall we have a little look at the chat we had with Martin O'Donnell?
How long is it?
We're running a little bit over time, right, guys? Listen, this pre-recorded video sound is not fantastic. I know some of the sound this evening is not fantastic, but we are going to improve on that. Believe you me. So we caught up with Martin a couple of days ago, actually, and this is what he had to say. We actually, having watched you at the Q Tour event, which congratulations, by the way, which you won deservedly, because was your match play pretty good all day. You were probably a bit concerned, actually, Martin, because a lot of the matches were very, very close, and it was quite cutthroat. But you've just proved yourself to be not only an experienced tour professional, but from the obviously you've dropped off the tour, but you're a bloody good match player, mate. You dig in, you know what I mean? You don't give up. And I think that's, I was speaking to George the other day about, he made comments about that. And so did Ross. The kind of the players get to know the good match players and the players that don't give up and keep digging. And you did. Yeah. And, just looking through those, just touching on the Q Tour events, the Q Tour event, you did Jamie Wilson 3-2. You did little Scottish lad there, Liam Graham, who's improving all the time. You did him 3-2. You had probably an easier one against Flo at Urable. And then Donnie Wells 4-3, Ashley Carney 4-3, and you were, it was all about. So just talk us through that day, Martin. How did you feel?
Yeah, I mean, 4 deciders in 6 matches over the 2 days. It's, it is what it is. I mean, to be fair, with best of 5s, you're probably going to get a fair few deciders. But yeah, I mean, I was in trouble in the first game. I was 2-1 down to Jamie. He used to come through that. And to be fair, I played pretty well from there on in. Down against Jamie, I played fairly tough for the rest of the tournament, and
yeah, I mean, you scored.
I scored really well. Heavy, I think, I scored the best out of it. So
130, 127, 135, 137. When you got in there, you scored very heavy. And that's a good sign.
Yeah, I think I won 22 frames, and I think I made 16 breaks. So, when you're playing like that, and obviously I can dig in a bit when stuff you do become difficult to beat. But I could have easily lost at various stages in that tournament. I never really got carried away. I just kind of took one game as it comes. because you can lose at any stage. You know, you're playing good players. They're all good. I was 2-0 up against that Liam Graham, but he played really well to come back to 2-2. I think off the break and made one visit in the last, so he didn't do
He's
much
a really nice
wrong.
dog. You know, he stayed right to the end. He was there the day of the final. He was getting his flight back, I think, that evening. You know, and I've spoken to Liam a few times. You know, he's always improving, and he knows his game. He knows he's going to be a steady improver all the time. You know, and that go. I mean, I had a conversation with Ross, as you probably know, there just a couple of weeks ago. He'll be coming on the live stream tomorrow night as well, talking about his time on the tour. Just and he was talking about the difficulties on the tour, how really difficult it is to make a living on there, and the level and standard between where you are now. You know, here you are playing Q tours, trying to get back on the tour again. You know, you're playing these cutthroat best of fives, you know, where anything can happen. You know, I mean, tell us when I think you first turned pro in 2012, Martin. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. Just talk us through your professional career.
Well, yeah. I mean, the first year I turned pro was actually on the old system, a tiered system. And I remember I played David Grace my first game on a 1-5-3. But you didn't get any money to win. I think that was in the Wuxi tournament in China. You had to win 2 games. I can't remember. But and then this next tournament, time ago. Yeah. 2 kids have ruined my memory. But I do remember I played in the next tournament was the Australian Open. I won 2 matches in that tournament where you needed to win 3 to get any money. So I didn't win that matches, and so I think I won like the season. But rest, and then did a bit better, and then I was 14, but I dropped off the tour. Did I get straight back on? I think I got straight back on. And another 2 years, nearly 64, but didn't quite make it. Dropped off. Went that one. Then I had a year off the tour, and that was a really, really, really tough year. Meant 4 years on tour. Nice.
So that was
nice. But a Q tour like that, you know, at that stage, it was just you had to wait a whole year again. It's on through Asian PTC, so I even went to the first Asian PTC thinking I'll make it good to the next 2. But I didn't manage, and you were just at that stage. So, and then I got back on for the following year and felt like at that stage there where if I didn't get back on, I might. But I got back on, and I thought, right, you know, I've got to change what. And that kind of was the case of me going forward. I mean, I got Ian McCullough on board at that time. Well, probably just before I got on tour actually. I've been working with him, and he really changed my game. You know, yeah.
Quite a few players say that about him.
Took me well out of my comfort zone, and forced me to play shots I didn't want to play.
I think the sound quality's a wee bit interrupted there, Martin. I think particular. I think it might just try and move the phone a wee bit. Maybe we could try and do. So where do you think you are now? Then do you think? I mean, what sort of position do you think you're in now? Do you think you've come along with your game? Are you ready to get back on? How confident are you, and how do you feel your game's changed?
Yeah, I think I a bit since COVID. I lost my way a bit, and dropping off is kind of, and I feel I feel like my game's in good shape, but I definitely lost a bit of confidence on the match table. Practice, but just nothing, nothing like in matches. And that's a bit strange for me because quite like, for a few years previous to that way around, where I'll maybe not be too good in practice, but played well in matches. The dust has settled, it's dropping off, and luckily we've got things like Q Tour, the 4 from the previous year. It gives you something to look forward to be honest with you, because if you didn't have Q Tour, well, I probably would have to give up the game, to be honest with you.
I mean, I didn't ask Ross this when I had Ross on, but I mean, this kind of thing, you're playing Q Tour events, and if that doesn't work, you'll go back to Q School, obviously. Is there this anticipation where you expect to do well or expect to get close? Is that in the back of your mind? Are you expected to get close, or does that concern you a bit?
No, you've got to expect to get close. If you're not in a good way shape and you don't really expect to do well there, then you're not really going to do well there. I've come through it a few times, but it's just I know I played anything like what I'm capable of being. I'll be a tough match for anyone at Q School. You can't expect to get through Q School. I don't think, I don't think it's a best of 7 at the end. You can have a cracking best of 7, do a lot wrong. I had a couple of Q Tour. They probably can't understand how they haven't won the match.
Which is like what's his? That's kicking off there, guys. The sound quality, guys, was not fantastic. I really apologize for that. I think probably the internet, perhaps Martin's end there. We did get Martin on initially at the club where he practices, but I couldn't. I had a technical problem my end, and it's always going to be a little bit of an issue. I think, Michael, with live streams, with pre-recorded ones as well as live, you're not always. Sometimes we're going to have little glitches, as we have on the news when you watch the guys doing the live news broadcasts. But we will improve on that. I think next time round, I think I'll have a little pre-recorded connection check like I used to do with Chris quite often before we went on. The last thing you want to do is a kind of interview where you can only hear. But look, we heard enough from Martin to know how hard he's working and how good he is. And it was very interesting to speak to the both of them, actually, both Martin and Ross, because obviously being both tour professionals, they have been on a professional tour and they know how difficult it is to make a living on that tour. They've found themselves coming off the tour, and they both talked briefly there about what it takes to get back on. And I did ask them both, do they feel stronger players? And they do feel more confident, and they do feel stronger, and they've worked on their games. And so very interesting to see, Michael. Very interesting to see what becomes of these boys. Ross, we said earlier, Ross has just won his first or second round British Open match. So, a lot of encouragement there.
Well, he'd be on. He's on again today.
Already, is he playing as we speak? Well, we can actually take a little look at that. Actually, we're very fortunate that we can incorporate the live results here, and I can tell you right now that their ETA on the table is 10 p.m. and we are not going to be live at 10 p.m.
And I don't think, whether they make it for that time, but no,
we're not going to be live at 10 p.m. But no, fantastic venues. As we had a few snaps there off the Northeast Snooker Centre there, Michael. It looks like a really lovely club. Justin's obviously fitted out. some of their tables. And then the Brighton Club, of course, you know, has its values too. You know, there's Brendan. You know, I just told Brendan off because he was getting on my nerves for a while there, you know. But you know, the Brighton Club is, there's just a few images there off it. There's actually, I think that's Martin actually. You know, on the Riley Aristocrat, beautiful table, 8-table layout. All the tables, brand new 10 cloth, obviously provided by World Snooker, and all the tables are heated. And you know, just a fantastic, lot of space between the tables, fully air conditioned, and this is what you kind of expect from a Q Tour venue, would you not say?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and you know, the lads turned up. There was very few of the club players in actually watching them. It was quite surprising, you know. But the venue is second to none. It's probably the best venue in the whole of the South with the 8-table setup. You've got fantastic venues with 4-table setups, but this club is really the dog's business when it comes to layout and providing everything else that's needed. You know, absolutely fantastic 8-table setup. You know, there's actually 4 professional tables in there. On the outside, and the 4 tables on the inside, you know, are club tables. They're Riley tables. They look like Riley Aristocrats, but they're not quite. But they're obviously covered with the excellent cloth, and they're all heated. You know, which makes massive difference. There's an image of Ross there in I think it's a semi-final there. No, it's not actually. He got put out of the top 16. Brighton, funny enough, you know. And there's the image there of the Northeast Snooker Centre. And again, fantastic. Look you can see any club that has that sort of wide open space with those, you know, it's got the proper lights and everything in there. It's just a perfect setup. Yeah. You know, just a wee image there of George and Martin in the Brighton Club with one of the chaps from WPBSA there, I think. I'm not sure who he is. You probably know.
Yeah, I think it's Graham, that isn't it? Graham Mason.
Yeah. Not sure what else we got there. Northeast Snooker Centre again. There's Thip Chai on the left.
Yeah, he was supporting that young lad in the middle.
Here's a picture. Is this your daughter? Is this your daughter practicing in the Northeast Snooker Centre?
Yeah.
Is that your daughter?
She's
got to be. Bless her.
Yeah, no, it's about the right age.
Yeah, no, there's an image of young. This is the Brighton Club again. That's young Liam Graham. Yeah, fantastic young player. He has definitely got tour potential. No question about that. Absolutely no question about that. You know, just another image here is the Waterlooville Club in Waterlooville, down near Portsmouth. Fantastic club. That's the base of Jamie Wilson and Connor Benzie.
Yeah, that's Connor there on the right, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Who's he playing there? Is that Mark Lloyd?
That's Mark Lloyd. Mark actually won that tournament. That was about 4 or 5 months ago, actually. That was one of the last tournaments we had there. You know, very good stuff. Okay.
Yeah, good.
Michael, we're just about to wrap this up. Is there anything you want to say?
No, just obviously people will be able to get to see this when we upload it onto YouTube and all that kind of stuff. They'll be able to go back and look at it, and we'll be back again. We need, any ideas that anybody's got if they're watching this back, later on, and they want to put something in or want to come in live. Just give us a shout.
Yeah,
and we can have a bit of fun. There'll be lots going on. There'll be a lot.
Michael, I think because I've went live on 4 channels here, I think I've indirectly damaged the potential of any comments, mate, because the Pro-Am Snooker page, I'm not sure whether, guys, I apologize if any of you have tried to make comments on here, but I'll fix that because we're trying to set this up in such a way that we only go live on Pro-Am Snooker UK YouTube channel, Facebook channel, and Michael's Amateur Snooker channel. That's what we're trying to set up. This is pretty new software. This is a pretty new studio, and myself and Michael have been really busy this week doing other things, and I think we'll get used to this, and we'll improve the quality of the streams as we go along. So please get in touch with us. You know, send Michael any queries if you want to put your club on and what have you, or do a profile. Please come on. We'll have some professional guests. I can tell you right now that, guys, we're going to be coming on monthly. We're going to be broadcasting live at the end of each month. Well, we'll probably have Chris on a regular basis, just keeping us updated what he's up to, and the likes of Justin with Hatwire, traveling around the country. You know, we'll have other coaches on board. We'll have other professional and amateur players coming on talking about themselves as they progress in the tournaments. And all of this material, guys, gets uploaded on YouTube. So this will be uploaded on YouTube tomorrow, and it will be posted on the Amateur Snooker page, the group page. It'll also be posted on Snooker Hub, and it'll also go on Pro Am Snooker UK for you to take a look at. That's if you can put up with it for an hour and a half. I'll tell you what, Michael, this was to be 1 hour, but we did very well. So, guys, thanks very much.
Not bad.
For joining us. We're going to nip this in the bud and try and get some sleep. I'm going to watch catch up TV and drink the rest of this wine. Okay?
Go watch a bit of snooker.